Hello and welcome to yet. I'm gonna. Okay, I'm gonna do this for like an hour just to show you. This is my life. This is just how boring, utterly, completely boring my life is. But trust me, this is what I do every day. All right. I listen to Celebrity Joe Bob Briggs. Let's see here. Move the camera around a bit. Hmm. Who is this? Is imaginary characters these hosts come up with is ridiculous and hysterical. I'm gonna turn that. I'm gonna skip to the next story. I'm sorry. Let me get to the next story. Next story. Let's see. Na 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 na. Hey, good night. All right. If you don't know who Celebrity Joe Bob Briggs is, I mean, he is without a doubt the precursor to all this, the YouTube, the reviewers, the bloggers, everybody. He's like the Siskel and Ebert if Siskel and Ebert are actually okay. Personally, I wasn't exactly a big fan of Siskel and Ebert. I thought they were too critical on films. That yeah, they like some of the same films I did, but a lot of the times they just were not. It's like they didn't know what these things were. It's like it's a horror film. What do you think it's going to be about? And it's like if it was a drama or something, then yeah, they'd have a proper understanding of what it is. But if it's supposed to be a horror film like Friday the 13th or anything else that's outside drama, then it's like I hate it. And it's like, look, kid, it's a horror film. You have to understand what its nature is and take it as such. I don't like horror films. I like reviews by horror films. Trust me. It's a lot more fun. But this is what Celebrity Joe Bob Briggs brings. Apparently, on the movie channel, back in the late 80s, he was, a gas to listen to. I listen to these things. I'm listening to him on the movie channel segments now, and then I'll move into the Monster Visions, which is where I've mostly known him from. TNT's Monster Vision. That's where I've known him from for about a good 5 years or so, until the mid 2000s or late 2000s when he was now on Shudder. Trust me, you can never really go wrong with this guy. He's like Norm Macdonald, sort of, but trust me, you'll love him. And he knows a lot about the backstories of a lot of shows, movies, productions. Ridiculous. And he tells us those cheap, not necessarily dad jokes, but those jokes you would like say on like long trips. Like to your buddies or something like that, to your beer buddies, basically. Um, the whole forced fryer things, I think that's hilarious. But anyway, yeah, so he's the precursor to all that, where he would kind of make fun of various different horror films and other movies. And I just love that. So, like when the Cinema Snob or Linkara or Nostalgia Critic, did their thing, that's why I liked it so much. It's like, hey, they're like this guy. You know? That's why I love them. Oh, I saw a movie today. Oh god, I saw the Demon Slayer something something train. So much like Die Hard, where it's like Die Hard on a train, Die Hard on a bus, or Die Hard on a plane, it's Demon Slayer on a train. You know, and it's like so I saw the review of it, so I haven't seen each episode individually. But what I can gather from the TV series is that apparently this kid got his broke ass onto a train somehow. He managed. This guy lived out in the woods. He lived out of a cabin out in the woods, and I'm like, really? This guy who probably doesn't have much in the way of commerce, because he's a farmer and whatnot, lives on his family lives on its own before it was slaughtered, and this guy was able to like manage to get passage onto a train. It doesn't say who gave him the money. It just says he has a ticket. He's gonna get on the train. So I'm like, okay, so now it's Demon Slayer on a train, which like Die Hard on a train, which was Dark Territory, I believe. So with Die Hard's planes, trains, and automobiles, basically, is what it is. So this is Demon Slayer on a train. And even with the English dub, my God, it was boring at times because all they did was talk. Talk, 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 talk. Oh, and if you're wondering, no, I do not have cable. This is a previously recorded VHS tape of two movies. I can't remember which. Oh, War of the Worlds and The Day the Earth Stood Still. So I'm just recording that. Apparently it was on TNT or... No, TBS. Sorry, TBS. So it's a VHS tape that's playing from cable, recorded from cable, and I'm transferring onto a DVD-R minus. So yeah, that's what that is. So I'm just letting that play while I'm watching Celebrity Joe Bob Breaks. So yeah, this is my day. This is what I do. All right. I mean, this is just like not all that. I left my glasses in the car. Hold on, let me get my shade glasses. It just looks psychedelic right there. Okay. I doubt anyone's really watching right now. You know, I doubt I have time to read that. I can't really read that with my shades, but anyway.
Anyway, it's kind of a mandingo sort of deal. That's what it is, but it's made by British people. So we got 19 dead bodies, 17 breasts, a little kinky sex, a lot of flogging.
Oh, one difference between the movie channel and TNT channel is that they actually leave a lot more stuff in. So, yeah.
Give it 2 stars, rated R, check it out, and then I'll be back. I don't mean the flogging is part of the sex. It might be, but it's probably not. But you'll see. You shouldn't try to explain. Did you notice how in that movie you could never tell whether it was daytime or nighttime? I thought the slave uprising was in the middle of the night. They had those big bonfires and everything, and then the messenger rides up to the warehouse and it's daylight outside. And also there at the end, I couldn't tell what's going on. Eartha Kitt laughs. What's that supposed to mean? I guess we'll find out next week when we have Master of Dragonard Hill, which is not just the sequel to this movie, it's almost the exact same movie, except Oliver Reed's even fatter in this one. Patrick Warburton gets married, but it's not the same woman as in this movie. It's Kimberly Sissons, who fortunately spends most of the movie in jail. And our second feature next week is Rising Storm. John Rhys Davies is an evil dictator in the future who has wiped out all memory of rock and roll. And June Chadwick is the woman determined to not let him get away with it. And don't forget also, October is the Horror Host Hall of Fame. And every night that month I'll have one of the most famous TV movie hosts in history on this show, including Zachary, Goulardi, John Stanley, and Elvira herself. All right, time for a little
Elvira?
advice to the hopeless. And this letter comes in from Chris Jones of Purdue.
All right. Before that, let me stress to you the fact that when sequels were made, when a movie was good enough, maybe not exactly a mainstream that you've heard of it, but there were 2 movies where, like, they said, well, let's not really do much of the same thing. We're even going to call it pretty much the same thing. Not 2, perhaps, but here, let me show you. Should be right. Here. So, okay. So, do you know what came after Stakeout? Sorry. There you go. You know what came out after Stakeout? Another stakeout! Fancy that! And here. You wanna know what came out after 48 hours? Another 48 hours. And it's basically the same plot or story. Very little is changed. Very little is, you know, not that these movies aren't well acted with good actors, mind you. No, they are well acted. They're well told. But it's all, we've all heard it before. There's nothing really new about it. Not really. And that's where I understand and connect with celebrity Joe Bob Briggs.
Kentucky, and he says, "Dear Joe Bob, was there ever a horror movie that was so gross and graphic that even you couldn't watch it?" Yes, Chris, there was. Betsy's Wedding, especially the part where somebody kisses Molly Ringwald on the lips. I'm about to throw up just thinking about that. All right, if you've got something to ask me, or if you want to get free junk in the mail, get my newsletter, request some movies, write to the Movie Channel mailbox, P.O. Box 1264, Radio City Station, New York, New York, 10101, and I'll get back to you. Coming up right now, though, our second feature, Out of the Dark. Excellent killer clown movie starring Cameron Dye as a photographer who does a layout on girls who work at a phone sex service, and he gets involved in the search for a serial killer who's after his own girlfriend, played by Star Andreek. Great cast, though. Listen to this. Karen Black, Bud Cort, Divine, Karen Mayo Chandler, Karen Witter, Lainey Kazan, Tab Hunter, and Paul Bartel. I don't want to tell you too much about it because it's a mystery, but let's look at those totals on this thing. 7 dead bodies, 12 breasts. Now, I have to warn you, though, that's an inflated figure because about half of those breasts are stunt breasts, and it's very obvious. You'll see what I mean when it comes on. 4-star movie, though. Great movie. Rated R. Check it out, and I'll be back one more time. Bobo the Killer Clown.
Bobo the Killer.
Greatest endings
What?
in the history of horror. I love that thing. Bobo the Clown. Can't kill without his clown face. Great movie. Running out of time, but we have a Republican alert. The Starlight Drive-In in Hamilton, Montana is face down and gasping for breath as the U.S. Forest Service, our own government, makes plans to take it over for an office. The Starlight opened June 20th, 1950 with I Wonder Who's Kissing Her Now, starring June Haber and Mark Stevens, and true to its drive-in roots, it closed this year with American Anthem. Jerry Spangurty wrote in to remind us that without eternal vigilance, it can happen in your town. Well, that's it for me. Well, one of our viewers from Dayton, Ohio sent me this joke. He didn't want his name used, but this guy's wife has a pain in her shoulder. And the doctor takes her into the examining room, and he comes out a few minutes later, and he says to the guy, "Your wife has acute angina." The guy says, "Yeah, I know, but what's wrong with her shoulder?" Joe Bob Briggs reminding you that the drive-in will never die. Not my joke, but wish I'd thought of it, though.
Master of Dragon Hill.
Somebody sent me a copy of this new book, How to Get the Women You Desire into Bed, by Ross Jeffries. You heard of this? It guarantees that if you follow the steps in this book, any woman will start whimpering like a wounded puppy every time you enter the room. Now, I realize you probably already have your own copy, but I have some additional advice caused by a recent experience I had with Wanda Bodine. See, the whole point of this book is that you have to become a manly man. You go out there on the dating scene and you start telling these women what they need. You say things like, "If you want to date me, you be on time for dinner and you keep your mouth shut about your problems and get a new haircut." So the principle of this book is that if you say things to women that should cause you to end up in the hospital, they'll fall in love with you instead. So the first night I put this idea into practice, I was planning on taking Wanda Bodine to my favorite night spot, Grapevine All-Star Lanes and Cocktails. And when we got there, this guy named Charles, who drives the golf cart they sell beer out of, Charles made this disparaging remark about Wanda's hot pants being fire engine red. And actually, they were not fire engine red, they were candy apple red. After all, Wanda is a league bowler. But that's not the point. The point is that I decided to deal with this situation in a manly manner. So I beat Charles up. I beat the stuffing out of him. And Wanda was very impressed. This was working. She said, Joe Bob, you've never been so chivalrous before. And what does chivalrous mean? Anyhow, I'm using this technique for 10 minutes, and already she notices my chivalrousness. Next thing you know, it's league night, and we're locked in deadly battle with a bowling team called the Dancing Asthmatics. And the Dancing Asthmatics are up by about 100 pins. And I'm thinking, you know, if there's one thing a woman can't stand, it's a man who can't bowl with authority. So I decide that I'll just beat up Waldo Whitaker. See, Waldo's a member of the Dancing Asthmatics who has a 174 average, so I just beat him up. And Waldo never could get back the full use of his right arm, and so in the final and deciding game, he only bowled a 42. And so now Wanda is very impressed because I'm doing the manly thing, see? Wanda says to me, I like a man who takes what he wants. It's right here in the book. They love that. So finally, I've got Wanda just exactly where I want her. We're finished bowling. We're in the 11th frame cocktail lounge, about to do some serious Whitney Houston body grinding on the dance floor, when in walks this guy called Hugh the Hunk Hofstadter. And I knew he was going to be trouble. He walks up to Wanda, steps right in front of me, and he says to Wanda, who's the dork? So as you can see, the situation is a little complicated because he's not really talking to me. He's talking to Wanda, and Wanda says, he's not a dork. And I was all pumped up from reading this book, so I said, I didn't like Wanda talking for me either. So I said, I'm the dork. I mean, I'm not a dork, but I am the dork for the purposes of this conversation because you referred to me as a dork. It simplifies matters if I will acknowledge that you were referring to me when you said I was a dork. So Hofstadter, he just kind of grins at me. And then he says to Wanda, what if the two of us fight for the right to take you home? And I'm thinking, what kind of a ridiculous deal is this from the 13th century? Fight to take her home? And I'm just kind of laughing at the guy. And then Wanda says, well, I think that would be wonderful. And it was then, at that moment, that I realized what I had to do. So I turned to Hugh the Hunk Hofstadter, and I looked him right dead square in the eye, and I said, you can have this, bimbo, just don't beat me up. See, women invented this macho stuff. Do you realize this? We get beat up, and they enjoy it. I kind of liked the fighting part of it for a while till I realized they're not worth fighting for. And speaking of women that like to use cattle prods, tonight's movie is Master of Dragonard Hill, which is the sequel to last week's movie, Dragonard. Oliver Reed returns as the evil, conniving Captain Shanks, and we have more slave uprisings, and Eartha Kitt is back as the kindly old whorehouse owner, and Patrick Warburton is the kindly young dimwit that all the
He brings this up in storytelling form in order to actually highlight what's wrong with the world. Trust me, it's a like a euphemism or whatever or whatever. Trust me, you have to really think about it and kind of not think about it at the same time for it to make sense. You know, trust me, he doesn't. Don't take him at straight face value as a thing. You know, there's a lesson to be learned, but don't take him at straight face value when he tells these types of stories, which do trail off when he goes from the movie channel to TNT. Trust me.
women lust after, and Herbert Lom is a pirate, and I really can't remember much about it, to tell you the truth. They took one of the worst movies in human history, and they made a sequel to it. Who are these people? 26 dead bodies, 20 breasts, 4 orgies, slave flogging, a lot of that mandingo sex, you know, if you know what I mean, and I think you do. 1.5 stars, rated R. Check it out, and then I'll be back with our second feature, Rising Storm. What is a dragonard? I forgot from last week what some kind of miracle aid, isn't it? Is it over? Thank God. You know what I don't buy about that movie? Who would go through all that to rescue that whiny girl with no personality from jail? Kimberly Sissons is that actress's name, and fortunately she spends that whole movie in jail, but I think the dimwit hero should have just gone with Claudia Udi when he had the chance. Arabella, that character's name in the movie. Well, anyway, the famous Dragonard series, which hopefully we'll never have to watch again, I want to remind you, we're just 2 weeks away from the Horror Hall of Fame month on Drive-In Theater. Each week during October, I'll have a co-host who's one of the 4 greatest TV movie hosts in history. We have the greatest host from the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s, Zachary from the 50s, Goulardi from the 60s, John Stanley, the guy on Creature Feature in San Francisco from the 70s, and Elvira from the 80s. And she's still going strong, so the 90s too. And each horror host will be doing his or her original act on this show, and I'll do some interviews with them, and we'll be broadcasting from the famous Magic Castle in Hollywood, which is the private club for magicians. It's kind of tricked up like a haunted mansion. And that's it for that. All right, next week on Drive-In Theater, we've got Red Scorpion with Dolph Lundgren in the best in-your-face exploding third world country movie of the last 10 years. Very underrated movie. Dolph is this KGB special agent sent down to Africa to blow the head off a kindly old black revolutionary in a dashiki, and it's 4 stars. Great movie. Then our second feature is the Great Skycopter Rescue, which...
He keeps messing that up. It's not the first time he's messed that up, by the way. The Great Skycopter Rescue, which is basically, if anyone's seen the original movie, it's that helicopter captain guy. Basically, it's that. So, I mean, yeah, so this is my life. This is what I do. This is what I'm surrounded by. If you see my videos and you think, well, that's just like a moment in time, no, this is basically what my world is like. This is me. This is what I do. I transfer stuff onto DVD-R. You know, my days off, that's what I do. You know, I eat my food, I drink my drink, and I watch me YouTube. I watch me YouTube of Celebrity Joe Bob Briggs. And that's about it. I mean, my life is pretty boring, you know. Like, there's a whole lot of room for anybody else in here. Not that I really have any friends to really come and, you know, hang out in here. When I had my brother, I was only able to have him in here. Like, that was it. You know, that was it. Other than that, there's standing room only. So, trust me. So I'm trying to get my own apartment. Hopefully by the end of the year, when the um, colleges and universities reopen, I can get my job back as a parking lot attendant. I hope. You know, we'll change the pace here. Let me show you something. Here. Yeah. Okay, let me angle this. Okay, there. All right, there we go. Okay, so as you can see up here, all that is Disney. Let me angle that just right. Yeah, so over here in the corner, sorry, I'm trying to angle this right. In the corner, those are all the movies going from oldest to newest to right about, yeah, here. That first little gap, that is where the movies stop, and the kind of sort of, well, these are the shorts, and oh, sorry. Yeah, sorry. I have to hold it up. Anyway, as I was saying, so over here in this last bit is, sorry, in this last bit, which I'm guessing because it's, well, Disney is such a gigantic affair, it's really difficult. But yeah, I managed to get everything. If you remember how tall and stacked everything was over here, so I made it so that it's all just, you know, packed down and it's nice. Granted, it means that this here, you can see here above my head, all this here is pretty much, you know, what happened when I take everything out of here and put it down here, pretty much. So yeah, that's that. Just so you know. just kind of put it out of the way so that if I had enough space to take care of all of uh, Disney stuff, I'd have a place to put it. You know, so that's that. Uh, all right. Never really did get tell you too much about the Demon Slayer movie. A lot of talking, some decent fight sequences. I won't spoil the ending for you, but trust me when I say there's a lot of talking, a lot of speeches, and a lot of hard feelings. Trust me on that. So if you like the Demon Slayer series, I just saw the sums reviews of the episodes, so I'm not entirely sure what the pacing is or what the episodes are like or formatted as. But I guess if you like the series, I guess you'll like the movie. Just remember, there's a lot of talking. I don't know if that's in the series or not, but just it's like, get on with it! But I'm yelling for 2 more minutes! I'm pretty sure the guy is gone at this point. It's like, but I'm yelling for 2 more minutes! Okay, we get it. You're yelling, you're making a point.
The less said, the better. Toilet time on that one is what I'm trying to say. But right now, it's time for Joe Bob's Advice to the Hopeless, the drive-in mailbag. And this letter came in from John Hooms of Louisville, Kentucky. And he says, Dear Joe Bob, I work as an opera director. And I've always wondered if you have a fondness for opera, since often the plots are so similar to drive-in movie plots. Hear me out on this, Joe Bob. In almost every opera, your requirements for an entertaining drive-in movie are met. Consider Tosca, torture, lust, stabbing, execution, etc. Salome, for lust, naked dancer, severed head foo, etc. Susanna, lustful preacher, naked swim, shotgun foo, etc. And I've just scratched the surface. There has never been a real women's prison opera ever written. I think the market is there. If for nothing else, it would give us one hell of a double bill with Swore Angelica. Any ideas? Okay, John. I thought about what you're asking me now, and I've started working on a new libretto. It's called Fat Nymphos in Chains. And see, I've seen your opera stars. A script like this will be much easier to cast than your traditional opera.
Did you forget to mention this guy was canceled after a few years? Like you could see where it all just kind of goes wrong after a while.
Where you have 400-pound women who are supposed to be 14-year-old virgins. You take guys like that Luciano Pavarotti from Italy, the only role he can play now is an office building. So I think we're on to something here, John. Thanks for that suggestion. And if you've got anything to suggest or discuss, or maybe you just want to get free junk in the mail, including my world-famous We Are the Weird newsletter, then write to me at the Movie Channel mailbox, P.O. Box 1264, Radio City Station, New York, New York, 10101, and I'll get back to you. Our second feature tonight is Rising Storm, one of those Son of Road Warrior deals, which tells us what it'll be like in the year 2099 when a TV evangelist has taken over the world and he wants to wipe out all memory of rock and roll. But one woman is determined to find the ancient radio station buried in the sands of Southern California. And you really got to just watch it. I can't really describe it. I was trying there, but it didn't really come off. We've got 68 dead bodies, 10 breaths, surgery for fun, a hypodermic through the eye. I give it about 2.5 stars. Rated R. Check it out, and I'll be back one more time. No, 3 stars. June Chadwick is in there. 3 stars. That picture kind of grows on you. I thought it was real stinky in the beginning, but it really picks up after John Rhys Davies shows up with his Nazi torturers, and no, it still stinks now that I think of it. All right, we won't dwell on that. We have more important things to deal with, like a drive-in victory for a change this week. The Rose Bowl Drive-In on Route 1 outside Richmond, Virginia, was totally remodeled this year and is packing them in. And, of course, the Rose Bowl is the home of the greatest cheeseburger in Virginia, the Wally Burger. Ron Smith of Richmond and Noah Skalin of New York City both wrote in about the Rose Bowl Drive-In, and they remind us that with eternal vigilance, it won't happen in your town. Well, that's it for another drive-in theater. Remember, Zachary will be here in 2 weeks, and I got an Aggie joke. For those of you who aren't from Texas, Aggie jokes about people who go to our agricultural college, Texas A&M. They'd be the same as Polish jokes, or in France they have Belgian jokes, and in England they have Scottish jokes, and at the University of Alabama they tell Auburn jokes. If I explained it anyhow, in Texas they're Aggie jokes. So, did you hear about the Aggie counterfeiter? He was making $2 bills by taking 20s and erasing the zeros. Joe Bob Briggs reminding you that the drive-in will never die.
Red Scorpion, the Great Skycopter Rescue.
You know, I've watched about 19,000 scary movies in my lifetime, and I was thinking today that I could make the greatest horror film in history, because I know all the rules. I've seen every single one. There's nothing I don't know. Here is every single rule you need to make a horror film. I wrote them all down for you. 1, the innocent must suffer. 2, the innocent must be female. 3, the innocent must be good-looking female. 4, the innocent must be an occasionally naked good-looking female. 5, she shall scream. 6, she must have friends who are female, good-looking, and occasionally naked, who shall die horrible, grisly deaths before the 3rd reel. Next, said bimbos must be bubbly right up until the moment of death. Are you following this so far? You getting the idea? Next, the killer must be a zombie, ghost, psycho, or reasonable facsimile thereof. Now, we know this from a single physical trait. He breathes through his mouth. Next, every man in the movie must look like a potential killer, slobbering all over the bimbos. Next, there must be a horrible secret. Now, examples of that would be when they say, did you hear what happened in this house 10 years ago? Or, do you know what they say about old Fletcher Tatum? Well, the way I heard it was, you know what I'm talking about. Next, the weather must always cooperate with the killer. Windows blow out for no reason. The wind blows the doors shut. You can see lightning in the hallways even when there's no window in the hallway. Next, the creepy servant can never be the killer. You understand? Like a guy in grungy overalls and an eye patch says, welcome, Miss Stevens. I've finished the chopping in the yard. And see, the creepy servant's job is to show up every 10 minutes and make you think that he did it. Next, the survivor is the one who never says anything for the first 20 minutes of the movie. Instead, people talk about her and to her. They say, oh, Janie, don't be such a party pooper. Next, the bimbos shall take showers. Said bimbos shall say, hey, I know, let's order some pizza and start a fire and smoke some dope and take some showers. Next, in the 2nd reel, the bimbos shall enter the basement and say, this stuff gives me the creeps. Doesn't matter what the stuff is, it always gives them the creeps. The phone shall never work. The police officer shall never arrive until it's too late. The police officer shall always say, that Steinberg case from 10 years ago, something still bugs me about that. The door shall creak. When the door creaks, there is never anything scary behind the door. You ever notice that? There shall be a strange sound in the attic, but instead of everyone going to check out the sound, someone must say, no, I'll go, you stay here. Real, you know how they do that? Thou shalt rummage through kitchen drawers for a meat cleaver. The first body must not be found by the living until at least 3 people are dead. Now, let me explain that. They can never notice the first one is dead until somebody else is dead that they don't know about yet. Do you get that? Even after the body is found, the surviving cast members must continue to spread out. They say, all right, spread out. You take the living room, I'll check the kitchen. Even though this is the stupidest thing you can do. The electricity shall fail. The police officer shall be delayed by the storm, the bridge washed out, and or the traffic. Now this is the important part. Blood must drip on the innocent virgin. By the 4th reel, the innocent virgin must discover the killer's lair. And the killer's lair must be full of pornography, newspaper clippings, and most important, pictures of the innocent virgin. The killer must never attack her until everyone else is dead. The killer must attack her directly and slowly so that we can see her fearful, cringing, blood-splattered face. Thou shalt see her face change from cringing to angry as she calls on some deep inner source of strength. Then the killer shall die at least 3 times. And each death must be more spectacular than the one before. And the only way to know that the 3rd death is the final one is for the body to be totally destroyed. I mean, like splattered off the roof of a 70-story building is pretty good, but the best thing is just burning to a crisp. That always works. When the police officer arrives, he must say, I've never seen anything like this in my life. Are you okay? and the innocent virgin survivor shall spit in the cop's face. So that's about it. What do you think? Could I give some seminars on this stuff or what? Unfortunately, tonight's movie is not a horror movie. It would have made more sense if I'd talked about this when we had a horror movie, but I didn't. I didn't think about that in advance, and we don't. But what we do have is we have this great flick called Red Scorpion. This is the best in-your-face exploding third world country movie of the last 10 years. It's better than the last two Rambos. Dolph Lundgren should be a drive-in superstar by now, and I don't know why he doesn't get more credit. This may be hard for you to believe, but Dolph has a bodybuilder's physique in this movie that looks better than Arnold Schwarzenegger's on film, and he pronounces all 20 words of his dialogue correctly. Dolph is a KGB special agent sent down to Africa to blow the head off a kindly old black revolutionary in a dashiki. Meanwhile, he meets up with the M. Emmett Walsh, the sleaziest man working in drive-in movies today, and then he gets captured by a goon-faced Cuban torturer who likes to stick these 2-foot-long steel needles in various parts of Dolph's body. And the fun really gets started at that point. You're going to love this. 151 dead bodies, 2 breasts, of course they're both Dolph's breasts, 7 dead endangered species, 4-star movie. Check it out and then I'll be back with our second feature. I still say he's better than that Jean-Claude Van Damme guy, or Jean-Claude, however you say that. Best line in that movie is when the guy says, "Are you out of your mind?" and Dolph says, "No, just out of bullets." Great movie. All right, next week is the beginning of our big month-long tribute to the greatest TV movie hosts in history. These are the 4 greatest, as a matter of fact, in my opinion. Next week, my co-host will be Zachary, the man who started it all when he started dressing up like a ghoul on late-night TV in New York City in the 50s. He'd come on between the movies and drink blood and eat brains and generally gross out the public. And then in future weeks, we'll have the greatest horror host of the 60s, Ghoulardi, who had a very sick show in Cleveland. Then the 70s, John Stanley, host of the Creature Feature in San Francisco. And finally, the star of the 80s, Elvira, Queen of the Bees. And our movie next week is also kind of special. It's called Killer, and it's the cheapest movie ever made. Total budget, $9,500. Made by this old boy in Charlotte, North Carolina, who should be especially proud of the last half hour of the movie, which is a cannibal chase sequence guaranteed to make you puke. And then our second feature is Jakarta, one of the greatest action movies ever made. More fireballs per minute than any movie since Rambo. Okay, we got time for one quick letter, and this one came in from Jim Garfield of San Diego, and he says, "Dear Joe Bob, I would like to know what your favorite drive-in flick of all time is. Mine is the original The Evil Dead, which was plugged by Big Steve and had many scenes of the camera attacking the actors. Evil Dead 2 is my second favorite. Which drive-in movie have you seen that has the highest vomit meter rating, or for that matter, the highest amount of on-screen vomit? One contender is a non-drive-in movie, Monty Python's The Meaning of Life, which features at least 30 gallons of vomit, plus lots of naked women and a great liver removal scene. Only problem is it was made by the wimp British, who nearly banned The Evil Dead in their country. Or maybe they did ban it, I don't know. One more thing is We Are the Weird, the song, available on tape or CD." Okay, Jimbo, a lot of questions here. So very quickly, my favorite of all time, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the original. Although I think Hellraiser is actually a better movie, it's still my favorite is Chainsaw Massacre. Evil Dead is definitely in my top 10 list. Highest vomit meter rating is a movie called Make Them Die Slowly. But for actual vomit on the screen, nothing compares to that fat man in the restaurant projectile vomit scene in Monty Python's The Meaning of Life. You were right about that. And what was that other question? Oh, yeah. I used to sing We Are the Weird, the song, in concert, and I've done it on radio stations, but I've never actually recorded it. And I'm sorry about that, because MTV calls every week, ask me when it's going to be out. So, if you've got anything to ask me about, want to request some movies, want to get my newsletter in the mail, write to the Movie Channel mailbox, P.O. Box 1264, Radio City Station, New York, New York, 10101, and I'll get back to you. Right now, though, we've got another great movie for you, The Great Skycopter Rescue. And, you know what? I'm not even going to introduce this movie. You know, they made me introduce this movie last year. This movie is so bad, people in Lebanese prisons won't watch this movie. Awful movie. Here it is. It's not rated. Hope you like it. You won't like it, though. Sorry, that's all I'm going to say. If you're waiting for me to say something, you got a long way coming. Movie about these nerds that go up in their ultralights and drop Molotov cocktails on an evil biker gang. You know, Don't you think if you were typing up that idea for a movie, you'd rip the paper out and throw it away? You know, you just go, no, that's all you have to do. You don't have to go to this much trouble and actually make the movie. I hope we've played that thing for the last time. I am sorry about that. Well, we've got another Republican alert tonight. The Park Drive-In in Buffalo has been torn down, and it's for a disgusting reason. They want the land for a new medical center. You know, it's a plot. First make people sick, and then cure them at the same place where you made them sick. Mike Faust of Video Magazine wrote in to tell me this and to remind us all that without eternal vigilance, it can happen in your town. Well, that's it for tonight. Zachary will be here next week, and we'll be in L.A. for our special tribute to the greatest horror hosts in history. Meanwhile, do you guys know what the Polish guy calls his pet zebra? Spot. Joe Bob Briggs reminding you that the drive-in will never die. I like that one. Let me try to talk to you.
Listen, I'm afraid I'll have to hold these.
What are you doing?
Till we receive some sort of payment. I'm sure you're going to understand.
Hold them? You want to hold my underwear?
Just till we work out a formal payment plan.
Great. Don't touch that hat. Don't touch the hat. I can't stand for anybody to touch my hat. Thank you. Humiliating. Hey, Cochise, you forgot something. These have great sentimental value to me. Better take them. Might have to come back here to get them. Wade, I want to ask you a question. Do you ever smile at anything?
No.
Good answer. All right, can I ask you one favor, Wade? Because I know you have to leave and start filing my underwear in the proper place. Do you enjoy this job?
Yes.
Then maybe you can appreciate this. I have to talk to this camera right here now. It will only take a minute. I'll get money from that. Maybe even $549.
$559.
$559. Then I could give that money to you, and you would be happy, and I would be happy, and your boss would be happy. And are you married, Wade? Can you see me here, Wade?
Yes.
You are married.
No.
Well, then your wife would be the only one not happy because you don't have a wife. So here, Wade, hold this while I finish as collateral. It'll make you feel secure. And I just have to do this now. Alan, you idiot, get me out of here. This is no longer funny. We announced the anniversary show. We're going to do the anniversary show. Please, we've got great movies.
Oh well, I guess that's that. Oh, wait there.
All month long, the favorites from the past 5 years. I've got all this stuff I want to say about them. I haven't even given out the dead body count on steel and lace because Enzio here from the George Romero School for Hotel Employees thinks I'm trying to weasel out on a $500 check. In fact, if anybody out there could loan me $600, then I would, what are you doing? Wade, what are you doing? What's happening? Wade, don't touch that camera, Wade, all right? You cannot take that camera, all right? Alan, I'm going to kill you, Alan. I'm going to kill you. I'm going to rip your guts out, and then I'm going to grind your arms into pencils, then I'm going to break them in half, and then I'm going to take your head, and I'm going to feed it to a Doberman. That's what I'm going to do. Has anybody got a quarter here? I got to make a phone. Listen, all right, wait a minute. All right, Wade, give me this. All right? This is my camera now. It's mine. I am going to use it. All right, now listen to me. You're going to have to kill me to get this camera slide out. We are going to have a good time. Is that understood? Repeat after me, everyone out there. We are going to have a good time. We're going to have a good time. Smile, get over here. Say it. Say it.
We're going to have a good time.
Okay. Excellent. Now, watch the movie. It's a fun movie. You will enjoy this movie. Roll the movie. Well, I hope y'all enjoyed the movie. Can you hear me? Is this thing working? I gotta talk fast here because I only get this one phone call. But first thing, very important. Alan, if you're listening, the bail is $5,000 for the assault charge and $1,000 for solicitation of prostitution, which I
conversation for another 5 minutes.
Listen, everybody, next week we'll be live from the Las Vegas Hilton. It's going to be a totally different show. I know it might look like nobody remembered my 5th anniversary, but nothing can be fun.
I love that guy. Anyway, so yes. So this is my life. This is what I do. This is how I entertain myself for today. I listen to a lot of things, not just Joe Bob Briggs. I go into things, I marathon things, same with everybody else. We get into things, we marathon things, then we go on to other things, and then we marathon other things. And everything's okay. Everything is the same. Everything is alright. Me, it's organizing and restructuring my DVD collection. It's, transferring, apparently with commercials, as much as I dislike commercials, unless they're really good commercials, onto DVD-R. Like I said, it wasn't supposed to be entertaining. This is just supposed to be showcase. This is how boring and mundane my life is, So I think that should be long enough to show you the epicness of my life. And hopefully, come by the end of this year, I will have my own place. I'll work 2 jobs. And hopefully, with any luck, I will have a girlfriend. Who knows? Who knows? How this will all work. Somehow, it all just works out okay. Maybe not great, but okay, I find. Just given enough time, things just work out. Alright, so take care all, and I have no idea how to turn this off. Okay, excuse me, how do I figure out how to turn this off? Then I'm done figuring that to... Okay, that, save, highlight, share, mute microphone, okay, that doesn't do anything, oh, okay, that's good. Alright, let me see here, I'm going to try hit save highlight, see what that does. Alright, well, let's try the X. Let's see what happens. Alright, so take care all. And remember, much like Subway Joe Bob Briggs, the movies will never die. Take care. Bye.